Welcome everyone to the January 10th Fantasy Cruncher NBA Slate preview show. I'm the Siege, CJ Kaltenbach, going to lead you through this 10-game NBA slate. But before you do, please hit that subscribe and like button. Want to get this show in front of as many people as possible. Help us out with those YouTube algorithms. Give us those subscriptions. Give us those likes. Just a couple seconds of your time in exchange for this wonderful program that's going to help you win money, hopefully. That's the goal. 10 games. We've got a lot of injuries. So let's just get started. First game, Washington, Atlanta, 236 total. Washington, I think, is favored by one. Washington is favored by one. Bradley Beal, questionable with that leg injury. I like him if he goes. With Bertans back, really just McCray and Brown for me on the Wizards as guys of interest. Bertans will probably be on some sort of minutes limit. But either way, I think he'll take enough away from those other guys where it really is just McCray and Brown, those top guys on the Wizards. For Atlanta, it's the Trae Young show. He's now over 10,000. I'm not sure that's quite enough in this spot, I got to be honest. Against this defense, I'm not sure that that's enough. So he'll probably be one of my highest projected players. And will I get some? Probably depends on what shakes down with the injuries, but he certainly looks like a really good option. Right now, John Collins, 8,500, probably about the ceiling I paid for him. Kind of just got to see what the other options are out there, but he's not necessarily terrible at first glance, and everyone else is kind of just meh. I mean, if you have a magic 8-ball and can tell me which one of these other guys will go off, then great, but I don't have one, sadly, so I can't use it. Pelicans at the Knicks. We've got a lot of injury news here. Jrue Holiday is expected to be out for this game. Brandon Ingram is questionable with that finger injury. Those are the biggest injuries on the Pelicans side. On the Knicks side, Julius Randle is out with a personal issue. Marcus Morris is a game-time decision. And that's it. So, there's some other stuff like Kendrick Williams is out and Dennis Smith Jr. is a game-time decision. But that's really not going to change a whole lot. If Brandon Ingram plays, I love Brandon Ingram, 9,200 with no Jrue Holiday and no Julius Randle to defend him. It's just going to be a really good spot for Brandon Ingram. He's the best of the options. If he's out, I really start worrying about the efficiency immediately for the Pelicans. So if we go ahead and take a look at the Pelicans this season. Oops, where are the Pelicans? There we go. Pelicans with Jrue and Ingram off the floor. It's going to look pretty ugly and quickly here. It's all backup minutes. There really isn't a lot of starter minutes with these guys off the floor. And as you can kind of see, it's the Lonzo Ball show. I guess that's the one guy that we would say would play huge minutes. So if I try to take out garbage time and I put Lonzo Ball in, Josh Hart's a fantasy point per minute, but Kendrick Williams played most of those minutes, and he's probably out for this game too. So, it's really going to be a bunch of Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Jackson Hayes. We don't even have a sample with Derek Favors, basically. He's averaging 1.4 minutes, but we're talking 40 possessions. You can't really count on that. Favors 6,900, I guess, with no Julius Randle. I don't mind it. But I'm not sure that this is going to turn into a mid-slate, like you kind of, or a mid-tier slate. Kind of think you're going to get a lot of stars and scrubs. That's kind of the initial first thought. So I'm not sure how important that's going to be, really. But he's an option at 6,900. For the Knicks, they priced up Bobby Portis here on DraftKings through the nose. It's a good matchup. I actually probably don't mind him here, to be honest. In this spot, it's 6,400, but it's not the value play that you kind of thought it was going to be. RJ Barrett at 5,200, I think, is the guy that stands out to me. Just didn't play well in that Utah game. Hasn't really played well recently at all. Kind of hit that rookie wall. But 5,200 with all this usage available, it's tempting. And especially against, if there's no Jrue Holiday defense, that's a pretty good matchup for him. So I don't mind that. Jackson Hayes 4K, where are the minutes going to come from? Reggie Bullock, where's the upside going to come from? Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I imagine, would make his way back into the rotation and play big minutes. That's an option. He really struggled after a good first couple games. I wouldn't hate that idea. if you kind of want to bank on the ceiling of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but probably can only do that if Brandon Ingram was out and they just have to go super small. Josh Hart, 5,100. Just don't really see the ceiling there, even though he looks okay here. But yeah, this kind of they kind of priced everyone up, basically counting for Drew being out, and I'm not sure the efficiency here on the Pelicans if Ingram is out will be worth the point per minute bump that they're going to get. So I think Ingram plays. This line pretty much tells me that Brandon Ingram's going to play, but we'll kind of have to see. Knicks, I mentioned Bobby Portis. If Marcus Morris plays, I like him a lot, especially without Randall. I think he'll steal a lot of usage, but you have to kind of see if he's going to play. Everyone else is just kind of bad at basketball. I mean, I can go look at it, I guess, but I don't really want to because did I mention that they're really bad at basketball? So if I take out Marcus Morris and I take out Julius Randle, yeah, it's just like there's just really no one that's that efficient. Like Bobby Portis, we talked about, and then everyone else is kind of just like blah. So yeah, I don't really have much of an interest in the Knicks. Miami at Brooklyn. This is a 217 total here. Injury news: Kyrie Irving still out. Derek Jones Jr. game time decision. Garrett Temple game time decision, and Wilson Chandler's game time decision as well. If Temple and Chandler are out, the guy I would want to bring up first is Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot. He's on a two-way, actually, and they've actually been playing a good amount of minutes. You can kind of see he's been playing 15 to 20 minutes a night. If those other wings kind of disappear, I think he's the guy that's going to get the first crack at it. He's kind of just been playing more than Kurix even. So that's kind of one of those situations where I would lean Cabaret over Kurix. In that situation, if they play, I don't mind Gary Temple at 4K, but like, what's his real ceiling here? In terms of the guys at the top, Bam Adebayo, 8K here against Brooklyn. Fantastic matchup. Love it against this front court that's undersized. Jimmy Butler's okay. I'm not in love with it. Spencer Dinwiddie's just been red. It's been cold. But having to take the load for that long finally wore him down. Karis LeVert's back as well, so don't need to get crazy there. Karis LeVert himself's on a minutes limit, so kind of just doing the factor of just killing everyone. For the Heat, Justice Winslow's back, going to get off that minutes limit. It's a good matchup for Dragic on paper, but I just wonder how much of the ball handling he's going to have once Justice Winslow gets back. They still have all their guys. It just kind of feels like the rotation's too big. Butler, Dragic, Derek Jones if he plays, Nunn, Winslow, Hero, Duncan Robinson. That's a lot of wings. So for me, I would really just focus on Bam here from this game, and maybe a Brooklyn value play if something was to just open up. But I think that'd be pretty forcing it even a little bit too. But I do like TLC if Temple and Chandler are out. I think that'd be a pretty sneaky large field tournament play. Indiana at Chicago, 212 total. A lot of injury news here as well. Game time decision on Sabonis. Oladipo's out till the 29th. Brogdon game time decision. Lauri Markkanen game time decision. And Wendell Carter Jr. is out. And Otto Porter, I believe, is still out. So, if Sabonis is out, Miles Turner is the guys we look at. They raised his price to $6,100 here. But, if Sabonis was to be out, he'd be the guy, especially against this weak Bulls front court. Similar situation there. If Markkanen's out, Thad Young's the guy you'd want against the Pacers. Played much better in the second game. The second game, he got the starting role in. So I think he's an option. Probably getting close to his max price for me, but he's an option. If Brogdon sits again, you kind of have to just play the triangle game between Aaron Holiday, T.J. Warren, and Jeremy Lamb. Guess who gets hot? Again, it's kind of Magic 8-ball-y. I like Aaron Holiday the most. I think he's the best player. But he's the one who's been kind of losing a few minutes to T.J. McConnell, so that kind of scares me a little bit. Chris Dunn priced up a little bit now against the Pacers. I think that's well out of the price range you really should be feeling comfortable playing Chris Dunn in. So Kobe White could get hot here. It's a pretty good spot for him to get hot. And if he gets hot, he tends to play minutes. So that's the good news. So I would keep that in mind as well. But again, this isn't really a game I'm just super popular with plays in. I think Zach LaVine's okay, but like he has to shoot the ball so well to pay off this price. It's hard for him to break a slate at this price. He could be a nice option on a winning team, but he's not going to be like the guy that breaks you a slate. So I'll probably stay away from him here. Spurs at Grizzlies, 231. The Spurs are favored. The pricing in this game is just simply too cheap for everyone. So the Spurs and Memphis are actually finally healthy for the first time in what feels like the entire season. But the prices are still too cheap because all these guys still have ceilings. Like LaMarcus Aldridge at 7,400 has a monstrous ceiling. We've seen it in earlier games this year. He's played really well against this team 3 times. So I think he's a really interesting option here, especially against that undersized front court if Jaren Jackson gets in foul trouble. DeMar DeRozan 7,200. Again, pace-up game. Memphis doesn't really defend well. He could play well. DeJounte Murray or Derek White, they don't play any minutes together, but they both have ceilings. So it really just kind of gets to that situation where it's like there's a lot of guys here with ceilings. Now, the Spurs are playing a bunch of players lately. That's probably like the biggest concern for me. If I pull up a Spurs game log here, you kind of see in the first half they played 10 guys. That's never great to feel good about, but it's an option. Maybe Trey Lyles is finally starting to get his way worked out. He played well in those Milwaukee Bucks games where they need him, but maybe he gets back on the bench for Rudy Gay, and Rudy Gay becomes an option. But even in a game against the Celtics where they played DeRozan until the 2-minute mark, right? Like only 2 Spurs starters were projected to get over 30 minutes, or 2 Spurs players. So it really kind of is DeRozan and Aldridge right now until we get an injury or some sort of clarity on who's going to play more. I think Lonnie Walker's starting to earn some trust here. I could see him, getting a start over Forbes at some point, but I don't think that day's today. So, yeah, I really think it's kind of just those 2. But a lot of these guys have ceilings if you can get the minutes right, but, that's easier to say than do. On the Memphis side, a lot of good options here as well. John Morant's not one of them, though. He's on that minutes cap. I'm just not going to play John Morant at 7,200. Just almost impossible for him to break the slate. Jaren Jackson Jr., 7,100, defending LaMarcus Aldridge. I have little to no confidence he can do it. So I'll stay away there as well. Jonas Valanciunas, 6,700. Kind of interesting here against the Spurs. I could see him playing pretty well if they just give him the minutes, but they just haven't been. So, if I go look at Jonas, like, he's been in those mid-20s. Like, if he ever was to play 30 minutes, I would really want to play him. But right now, it's just not what they want to do because Brandon Clark's been playing some good basketball, and they want to give him minutes off the bench. So I just don't know really where the road for Jonas Valanciunas to play 30 minutes will come from. Jake Crowder has a ceiling. This is kind of a high price, but he's been kind of on a steal thing lately, so he's an option. I love Dylan Brooks. He's on the wrong side of 5K, but you can still mash at this price, but I'm not like super thrilled about it. He's more of a 4,800 guy. Rudy Gay at 4,200 I mentioned. I really like this spot. If he gets the starting spot back, I think he could be an interesting option as well. But this is going to be a really high-scoring game. So, like, if there was any late injury news that comes out here, like, even something that feels, like, insignificant, like Bryn Forbes is out, would be really big news because if you can shorten that Spurs rotation even just a smidge, really becomes a really good spot for these Spurs players in this pace-up game against Memphis. Same goes for Memphis, too, by the way, against the Spurs. Similar situation. Orlando at Phoenix. The injury news here, Jonathan Isaac is still out. Aaron Gordon is a game-time decision. DJ Augustine is a game-time decision. All this news really benefits a couple players here on the Orlando Magic, and it's Terrence Ross. He's the guy who normally starts or finishes games in these types of situations, can get those extra minutes. Markelle Fultz, if DJ Augustine is out, will play 30-plus minutes. 5,800 is a really tough price for me because he's just going to have one of his higher usage games. So I'll probably stay away from him, but I just want to note that, like, he can do it. Birch, West, and Nunwu, like, they just don't play enough minutes to get super thrilled about. So that kind of just defaults you back to Nikola Vucevic. $8,800. He only had to play 28 minutes against the Wizards because, well, the Wizards are bad. Aiton and no, Sarge. It's not Aiton and Sarge. It's Baines and Sarge. I was thinking Baines and someone else, but Baines and Aiton will be those centers on this team, and that kind of reminds me of an Embiid like matchup that Vooch normally torches. So I could see Vooch kind of doing some work from distance in this spot. 8,800, especially if these other guys are out, that's a good option. If Aaron Gordon wants to play, he's actually pretty sneaky at 6K, but I don't know if he's going to play. I would suspect he's going to sit. So really, the top play here is just Terrence Ross. He's just going to play a ton in a competitive game against Phoenix here with these other guys out. I'm actually kind of curious who else is in the rotation for the Magic. Let me pull up a Magic box score. Can't say I watched this Wizards game, so I was just trying to see who was in the first half rotation. So it was DJ Augustine played, so interesting. Because if DJ misses and Aaron Gordon misses, I'm not exactly sure who's going to get all the minutes. I mean, you can just see Terrence Ross played a lot in the second half. But after him, if DJ Augustine misses, it's going to get interesting because I'm not sure who the player is. We haven't seen it yet for the Magic. So that's something to keep an eye on if DJ Augustine misses. Like, who is the backup point guard? Because it could be Evan Fournier, to be honest, actually. What's his price? 6,100. I wonder if they've played any minutes this season without either one of those guys. Magic. If it's not DJ Augustine or Fultz, have they even played any minutes like this? Michael Carter-Williams isn't there either. I don't think. Yeah, he's out, so that's not an option. So they've run 17 minutes with Josh McGeady at the point. So yeah, this would get ugly in a quick minute, and this is all garbage time minutes. So there hasn't been really any significant point guard here. So if DJ can't go, Markelle could play like 38 minutes here, but if not, I would suspect it's probably Evan Fournier as the backup point guard. So if he picks up a couple extra minutes, he'd be a sneaky option as well in tournaments, especially at this 6,100 price tag. Like, he can go beat that for sure, especially if he can work on those assist numbers. That definitely is a price he can beat. On the Suns, they're all healthy. This is kind of a slower paced game. I just don't really see anything here that I'm really all that enamored with. There really isn't anything here on the Suns. I think that's a team that you really can just cross off today. Charlotte at Utah, 212.5 total here. As soon as it updates. So only injury news here is Mike Conley, who's a game time decision, and Marvin Williams, who's a game time decision. This is kind of one of those games that's gonna be slow. I don't really see any super values on this game. Like, I think Gobert is fine, but I'm not like enamored with it. Jordan Clarkson in the second unit could be interesting, but Moutier's been playing really well recently and playing big minutes. And I know the Knicks was a revenge game, but even before that, he was playing higher usage roles here and really kind of eating into Jordan Clarkson's usage. It's just really hard to see him get into those upper 20s here on a regular basis if Moutier is going to be in the rotation. So, yeah, that's kind of a tough fade for me. I like the idea of Clarkson in this spot, but if Moutier is going to be in that rotation, I just don't see how the usage can get there for me. Ingles has taken a hit since Clarkson and Moutier got back in that rotation. Same for Miles Bridges. So it's just, there really isn't anything here super special. I kind of think this game is basically a write-off for me. I'm not really looking to attack this game in any particular way. The next game. Yes. We have some really good late games today. Lakers at Dallas. Luka Doncic versus LeBron James. Well, LeBron James is a game time decision with an illness, but he played through it last time. I can't imagine he's not going to play against Luka Doncic here. The last time they played in Dallas was an overtime thriller. It was a fantastic game. Let me just make sure that LeBron's still expected to play. Yeah, he's probable. And Anthony Davis is a real game time decision, and Avery Bradley is a game time decision as well. If Anthony Davis sits, I mean, it's LeBron James, it's Kyle Kuzma. They've kind of raised Kyle Kuzma's price up already in anticipation of this. I probably won't play Kuzma regardless, but I just wanted to make a note that his price is up, so don't think he's a default value option. I actually wonder who is the biggest beneficiary on the floor with no Anthony Davis. I would guess it's Dwight Howard or JaVale McGee, but let me check. Can't say I've run this before. So Lakers with LeBron on and Anthony Davis off. So LeBron James, Rajon Rondo is a winner, and the centers do pretty well as well. JaVale McGee 1.2 fantasy points per minute, Dwight Howard 0.8. But yeah, it looks like it's basically just, the role guys you'd expect in the centers get to play more minutes. But LeBron James, obviously, 11K, one of the best players on the slate. Luka Doncic, 12.6. I loved him last time out. He had 42% usage rate, too. Just no steals and blocks, no threes. It just was I can't call it a poor game. The guy put up 27, 9, and 10. It was like that's the floor for Luka Doncic right now. It feels like just so insane to say that, but he's been incredible. And I just love him in this spot. So for me, Luka Doncic, one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. I love Luka Doncic for sure. Especially if you're going to play LeBron, those two as a correlation pairing are just fantastic options. Dallas here, we're still kind of in that same situation. We can take a look at some rotations. There's no Kristaps Porzingis. And, you can kind of see they cut the rotation down a little bit. But, outside of Luka Doncic and Dorian Finney-Smith, everything else I think is pretty much up for grabs in terms of minutes. So it's really going to be matchup based. If the Lakers go big, I would say that Dwight Powell and Kleba have a good option of finishing. If they go smaller, I think Wright and Hardaway Jr. have a better chance of finishing. So it really just kind of depends on the matchups and the situation here. But, DeLon Wright, his price has gone up to 5K. Just don't really see a ceiling there for him as like a third option. Hardaway has the random break the slate games, and then he's just terrible the rest of the time. Kind of the same deal with Steph Curry. JJ Barea is kind of the same situation, although he didn't play in this game. So for me, it's kind of just Luka Doncic. Did I mention Luka Doncic? That's really just the only play right here from Dallas at this point. So Luka, LeBron, and then maybe some Lakers value if you're looking to get desperate. Maybe Rajon Rondo picks up his minutes, but he just hasn't been playing a ton of them lately. So I wouldn't get too carried away with that, but it's possible. So those would be the options I would look at. And they even raised JaVale McGee's price, so you're not even getting him in the 3Ks. So I wouldn't be like super lining up for that. Milwaukee, Sacramento. Milwaukee favored by 8. That's kind of a fishy line. Can I just say that? That line is fishy. That number feels really small. And so I know Giannis is probable, but I just would make a cautionary tale here that the Bucks' word definition of probable is not the rest of the NBA's definition of the word probable. We've seen players go from probable to out all the time on the Bucks. So I would tread with caution here on Giannis today. Especially, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen at shoot around, but it could happen before the game. This number is, it's a few points short. Let me pull up mine. I try not to talk about like spreads here unless I really think it has a DFS impact, but this is a number that feels way off to me. So I think something is going on here. So I would just keep an eye on that because like the Kings aren't even at full strength. Like Bagley is a game time decision. Holmes is a game time decision. Oh, he's actually out. Bogdanovich is out. Like, they're without 2 rotation players. Bielitsa's playing through an ankle injury. This feels off to me. And I love this spot for Buddy Hield, too. Like, again, I like any good shooter against the Bucks. They give up a ton of threes. And yes, the efficiency rate isn't good, but as we know in the NBA, if you get hot, you can make shots against anyone. And Buddy Hield's a guy that can get hot, and he's one of the better shooters in the league. So this is a spot where Buddy Hield is going to be right there at the top of my list as an option for me. Trevor Ariza, 4,700 is too much. I don't hate Harry Giles if he starts. It's an option. But I think Dedmon kind of outplayed him in that game, and I suspect that Dedmon would play more minutes basically moving forward at this point, even if they start Giles. And if we can actually get Dedmon on Robin Lopez, that would be fantastic. But, again, on the Bucks side, everyone's healthy. Eric Bledsoe has been playing more minutes. He's an option, but unless he's going to play 36 without Giannis, I don't want to do it. Same with Middleton. I don't really want to pay for the game where he just shoots the ball lights out. So for me, it really is just Buddy Hield in this spot. Dwayne Dedmon is a possibility if no super value opens up. And then, even Dante's up to 5K. There's really no value there, So I don't really want to get caught playing with too many guys from this game at this point. DraftKings getting pretty aggressive here with any of these potential value plays. You're not getting them in the 3Ks anymore. If Giannis sits, you're paying 5K for Dante, and 5K for Dante is not 3,900 for Dante. Those are definitely way different price points that we need to evaluate and ask ourselves, is this something we really want to do? And for me, it kind of is a no. Brook Lopez, 5,200 though. That's not a bad price on him for a guy who plays 30 minutes. I don't hate that. No, I don't hate the Brook Lopez price. Last game of the night. Golden State at the Clippers. Clippers favored by 1 million. Paul George is out. Steph Curry, of course, is out. D'Angelo Russell's a game-time decision. Kevon Looney is a game-time decision. Oh, he's out. Okay, I thought he was a game-time decision. So, this is just, again, Draymond Green's price is really cheap. The real question is how many minutes is he going to play? Anytime D'Angelo Russell is out, I love playing Grant Robinson III. The guy just plays big minutes. He'll take shots, and he can do all sorts of things on the floor. So I'm a big Glenn Robinson III fan. Anytime that happens, Alec Burks is fine, but Kai Bowman's been kind of getting more regular work as the point guard option. So Burks has a ceiling here, but I'm not super wild about it, especially against this really good Clippers defense. The Clippers, this is a tough team. With Paul George out, you can play Kawhi at 9,900 if you think you're going to get 4 quarters, but I don't know. Hard to imagine they get 4 quarters. This team is super rested, too. They haven't played in forever. Was that really their last game? I guess it was their last game. Oh, Kawhi setting us on the Knicks, but still, they've had 5 days of rest. That's a lot in the NBA. So this is a rested Clippers team going up against, a Warriors team has played a bunch recently. I just don't know where. Someone could hit a ceiling in 3 quarters, but I'm not super wild about it. I don't really think this is a situation where you're going to get it. I think the one thing I've learned kind of going through this the first time, and we'll kind of do a little recap at the end, there is not a lot of value. The value plays that we've been playing all season are priced up. There's no gimmies in the value department. They're not leaving us many players at 3K. If I put this on a graph and looked at percentage of players at each price tier, I would suspect there's way more players in the 4 and 5K price range than we've seen all year. And those are kind of guys that we live as our value options. So definitely they're making the game a little tighter on this slate. Maybe a lot of teams have a rash of injuries, and then we can get to some 3K guys. But for example, TLC, a guy who I was probably can do better in the beginning. Now it's I didn't see any other plays in the 3K range that was even close to that. So he's kind of a guy that I'm thinking, as the slate goes on, I might need him if those injuries occur. Studs, love Luka, love LeBron, love Trae Young. Those are the 3 that I'm really focusing in on. In terms of value, jeez. Like I said, Rudy Gay, TLC if those guys are out, but Like you can just see even here in a search by value, there isn't any. Like these guys are all like the guys we play as value plays are all priced up. So this is gonna get tricky. There's no gimme here. Terrence Ross is definitely a value play that I like a lot. That's one that I think is definitely better than the rest. But, Josh Hart, Joe Harris, 5K. Like, those guys were 4K players earlier in the season for sure. So, they're making it a little tougher on us. So, there really isn't a ton of default value. So, kind of as the day goes on, what I'm going to be looking for. And I'll talk about this on my Twitch stream at 3 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/thesiegedfs. Come follow me. We'll kind of look at all the news we got, see if we can find some more value plays. Also, all our articles are free over at fantasycruncher.com. So check that out as well. Those are updated as well throughout the day. Well, some of them are. We kind of post them throughout the day so we can kind of get you those news as we go along. And of course, if you're a Fantasy Cruncher member or a member to my Twitch stream, you can hop into the Fantasy Cruncher Discord where we're talking all the way up to lock. So feel free to join us in any of those mediums. And of course, please subscribe and like so we can keep these videos every single weekday going. I really appreciate all the support so far with the subscribes buttons and did I say subscriptions? I may hit the subscribe button. Oh, it's been one of those days. Long day. A lot of research on this slate too, trying to find value. really wasn't all that successful so far, but we've got a lot of time to lock to find those values. So hit that subscribe, hit that like button. Greatly do appreciate it. And with that, guys, I'll see you on Monday.